What's up everyone, Super Nerd Daniel here once again. So some time ago I did a couple of what if videos asking what it'd be like if we were to make Pokemon trainers out of WWE wrestlers and characters from Overwatch. And since both of those videos got a pretty positive reception and many of you have asked me for more of these, I thought I could do the same with another game that I hold near and dear to my heart, Undertale. Now, lots of folks know about my massive love for Undertale. I did 2 Let's Plays of it, I've done voice acting videos for it, I've made super long discussion videos about it, and I've even made lyrical adaptations of a couple of songs from the soundtrack. And honestly, what are these what if videos if not just a flimsy excuse to talk about my other fandoms on the Pokemon channel? So, today, I'm going to tell you what I think a few characters from Undertale would be like as Pokemon trainers. When you first enter the world of Undertale, you meet the seemingly friendly talking flower named Flowey the Flower. It seems like he's gonna give you the bog standard tutorial segment, but then it turns out he's actually trying to kill you and steal your soul. Luckily, the day is saved by the real tutorial segment character, the kind and loving Toriel. Toriel walks you through the ruins that she calls home, slowly and rather methodically teaching you how to navigate its many pitfalls and traps, so much so that at one point she's metaphorically and quite literally holding your hand through a puzzle. But hey, it's only because she thinks of you as her own child and she just wants to keep you safe. Even if that means being completely overbearing, not letting you out of her sight without constantly calling your cell phone, and eventually threatening to destroy the only exit to the ruins so as to prevent you from going home, but, I mean, come on, she means well. I'm thinking for Toriel's Pokemon team, we'd obviously have to start off with a Togekiss, whose Pokédex entries all state that Togekiss will bless people and Pokemon in peaceful places with kindness and love, but it avoids places with needless strife. So it's a Pokemon perfect for Toriel, because even though she believes she's strong enough to stop you from leaving, she doesn't want to fight you at all. She just wants you to be happy there, with her, eating butterscotch cinnamon pie, instead of venturing out of the ruins to a world full of monsters that could hurt you. Next up, a Floette, a Pokemon who pours its own power and heart into caring for flowers. Fitting because both Toriel and her estranged husband are habitual gardeners, and Toriel specifically watches over one very important golden flower bed just outside of the ruins. After that, a Whimsicott, with the ability Prankster, of course, to represent Toriel's love of insufferably bad puns. And last but not least, Gardevoir, a Pokemon who wears its heart on its sleeve, or rather, through its chest, and is said to care so much for its trainer that it will protect them at the risk of its own life. Perfect to represent the love that Toriel shows towards Frisk, even though it's obviously not guaranteed that said love and care will be reciprocated. After leaving the ruins, you start to meet some rather interesting people in the rest of the underground, and very few are as interesting or as memorable as the would-be human hunter and aspiring royal guardsman, Papyrus. Papyrus goes through a ton of effort to try and capture you and employs a wide variety of obstacles, from invisible electric mazes to colored tile puzzles to the dreaded microwave spaghetti trap, but each and every time you foil your bony enemy, mostly through taking advantage of Papyrus's own mishaps, and eventually you even win him over as an ally, thankfully meeting all of his incredibly high standards. For Papyrus's Pokemon team, we had to go with something for aesthetic right off the bat, so an obvious choice here would be Duskull. Fairly simple reasoning here. Papyrus is a skeleton, Duskull has a skull for a face. Aesthetic. Next up, a Snubbull, a Pokemon that, according to most of its Pokédex entries, tries to look fearsome and intimidating, but is actually mostly putting on a brave front to hide the fact that it's rather timid and meek. Not to mention that, despite its appearance, it's actually quite kind and affectionate, and that its desperate attempts to look threatening make it popular with people. And we all know just how desperately dear old Papyrus wants to be popular. Next up, a Tyrogue, a Pokemon who, much like Papyrus, always aspires to be stronger and challenges anyone to improve its skills and must maintain a regular training schedule. And last, but certainly not least, a Tangela, a very noodly looking Pokemon that best represents Papyrus's desire to be a master chef, despite the fact that all he ever seems to make is spaghetti. And you might be wondering, hey Daniel, why did you make Papyrus's team so weak? Well, I mean, to be fair, Papyrus himself isn't that strong. I mean, don't get me wrong, his boss battle does do a great job of turning Undertale's bullet hell mechanics on their head, but pretty much everyone in-universe agrees that Papyrus wouldn't last a second on a real battlefield, and that he'd probably get torn up into little smiling shreds. Then again, maybe he's just hiding his true strength and waiting for the right time to unleash it. After all, he does have those incredibly real muscles that are totally real and in no way photoshopped onto his arms. You can't just fake biceps that are so powerful that they need their own pair of sunglasses. Alright, but if we're talking true strength and ferocity, that conversation both begins and ends with the captain of the Royal Guard, Undyne. Undyne is considered by most of the underground to be the greatest hero among monster kind, and it's with good reason. She's strong, fast, courageous, and, yeah, very determined, especially when it comes to hunting down humans. And honestly, would you really want to mess with somebody who suplexes giant boulders for fun? For Undyne's Pokemon team, we've got to start off with Escavalier, a Pokemon that obviously has the knight aesthetic all over its design, especially when it comes to the two giant spears that it has, perfect for referencing Undyne's weapon of choice. Not to mention, according to the Pokédex, it faces opponents bravely even when it's in trouble. Next up, in keeping with the gallant hero theme, she'll have a Gallade, another Pokemon who draws inspiration from heroic knights and warriors. After that, a Gyarados, fitting not only because it's a water type and Undyne lives in an area called Waterfall, but also because it's a fearsome, powerful sea creature that's prone to bursts of anger and violence. Kinda like Undyne. Not to mention that Undyne is the nickname I gave to my own competitive Gyarados, so of course I'd have to have one on her team. And hell, just for the fun of it, let's make it so her Gyarados can Mega Evolve into Mega Gyarados, as a reference to her Undyne the Undying form. And lastly, she'll have a Golurk, a giant automaton Pokemon whose design is based pretty heavily on the giant robot seen in various anime series, a perfect nod to Undyne's belief that anime is in fact legitimate human history. And hey, let's put the entire genocide route aside. The true monster is the one that looks Undyne square in the face and tells her that anime isn't real. Now, what video on my channel about Undertale would be complete without me once again yammering on about the character who provided me with both my favorite boss battle and my favorite boss battle theme, the ravishing, ratings-grabbing robot with a soul, Mettaton. Mettaton will do anything to bump the ratings, and boy howdy, do I really mean anything. It doesn't matter if it's a quiz show where the prize is not being killed, doing a parody of the opera scene from Final Fantasy VI, or even bringing back Papyrus' colored tile puzzle, except actually functional this time. The ratings are all that matter to Mettaton, so it's no wonder that getting the ratings up is actually the entire point of his boss fight once you reveal his true form, Mettaton EX. Glitz, glamour, and a pair of killer legs, and I mean that literally, make Mettaton one fabulous and fearsome foe. For Mettaton's team, we're starting off with a Rotom, a Pokemon that lives in machines and possesses them, using them as its new body, much in the same way that, as you learn from his many diaries, Mettaton was himself a ghost that had a new mechanical body built for him by Alphys so that he could be his true self. Next up, Minior, a Pokemon that's literally a meteor, better known as a shooting star, and being a star is basically the crux of Mettaton's entire character arc. In addition, Minior going from a defensive rock to a brightly colored but very fragile core form lines up well with how Mettaton starts out with a metal outer body that's literally impervious to attacks, but that outer body can be removed to reveal the bright, shining star inside. After that, a Sarina, a Pokemon based on royalty, a status of importance that Mettaton obviously views himself as having in some form or another, and also because, like Mettaton, it's basically obsessed with its own legs. After all, its Pokédex entries go on and on about how people revere Sarina for the beauty and power of its legs, and about how Sarina itself takes an almost perverse amount of pleasure in being able to kick its opponents so damn hard. And lastly, Malamar, a rather malicious Pokemon that uses its vast hypnotic powers to get its prey to do whatever it wants. This ties in pretty nicely with the absolute entertainment monopoly that Mettaton seems to have over the entire underground as its sole television star, not to mention the Mettaton ending of Undertale's neutral route, where it's revealed that Mettaton rose to become the king of the monsters, and basically brainwashed everyone into watching his shows. Man, if only I could hypnotize people into watching my videos. Maybe I should get a Malamar. So you've played Undertale, you achieved the true ending, and everyone's all happy and free, but that's just not good enough for you. You just have to see what happens if you started killing everyone. You reach the capital, you're walking through the final corridor, and before you can stick your filthy knife into the heart of King Asgore, one last challenge awaits you. The hardest fight in the game of Undertale, Sans. Yep, that's right. The guy you met when he pulled a whoopee cushion prank on you, the guy who spends all of his time eating or sleeping or firing off terrible puns, is the greatest challenge facing those who take on the genocide route. After watching literally every other person around him get cut down, especially his own brother, Sans finally gets up off his lazy butt and decides to treat you to a really really bad time. For Sans' Pokemon team, let's start off with a Snorlax, a Pokemon that, much like Sans himself, is incredibly lazy and can eat a massive amount of food, but when it's prompted to make a serious effort, it displays awesome power. Next up, mostly for aesthetic purposes, it's gotta be an Alolan Marowak. Now, I did consider regular Marowak for this slot also, but both versions of Marowak have Pokédex entries that state that they fight for vengeance after a loved one dies, and the Alolan version having access to Fire-type moves like Will-O-Wisp and Flare Blitz give it the edge, because that could be a nice reference to the KR damage that's present during the Sans fight, which, like a burn, slowly whittles away at all of your HP on top of all of the regular damage that Sans can do to you. After that, we're gonna go with the male version of Meowstic, not only because it has the Prankster ability, and as we've already touched on, Sans loves him some puns, but also because Meowstic bears an incredible amount of psychic energy, fairly similar to how one of Sans' attacks involves him turning your soul blue and slamming you all around the battle box like a crash test dummy. And last, but certainly not least, Shedinja, a Pokemon that has only one single solitary hit point, but thanks to its ability Wonder Guard, can only be hit by super effective moves, and he's otherwise immune to all forms of attack, much like how Sans too only has 1 HP and is supposedly the easiest enemy, and yet he keeps dodging every single attack, and the stupid fight would just be over if I could just hit this fucking asshole one goddamn time! So, what Pokemon do you think certain Undertale characters would have on their team? Let me know in the comments below. Also, I just want to let you guys know that I've recently done a Let's Play of Pokemon Ultra Sun on my Twitch channel, and now the entire LP is up on YouTube. There's a link in the description to the whole playlist if you want to watch it. Give this video a like if you liked it, and subscribe for more super determined videos like this in the future. See you next time, Pokemon trainers. Super Nerd Daniel, out.